The story begins as we meet a girl named Scarlett, as her fiancé Kyle, the second prince, calls off their engagement. He notes that he has found another girl named Tanessa, and the nobles support them since they seem like a perfect couple. He mentions how he finds her charming and devoted, unlike Scarlett who seems to have no emotions, and he tells her he never loved her. She reminds him that their engagement was arranged by the royal family, so he can't just end it at his discretion, but he explains that he can do it since she's a terrible person. He mentions that Tanessa told him how Scarlett used to bully her at the academy, but she explains that it isn't true, and notes that she doesn't even remember her. But he accuses her of being an elitist, since she doesn't recognize the students who were in the common curriculum. He tells the other nobles about how she mistreated Tanessa, and Scarlett mentions that she's heard enough, telling him she'll allow him to make his own judgment. He calls her a villainess because of everything she did to Tanessa, but she notes that she has one final request before she leaves, and he thinks she wants to ask for money, but she suddenly approaches Tanessa and asks him if she can knock her out. In a flashback, we learn that Scarlett enjoyed beating people up ever since she was a child, and her brother Leonardo asks her why she keeps doing it. So she explains that she only uses violence against people who deserve it, and tells him she's doing it for the greater good. But he doesn't believe her, since he knows that she enjoys doing it, and he tells her to behave at the ball. During the event, Kyle asks her if she's Scarlett, so she formally introduces herself, but it makes him angry, since she could have just said yes instead of giving a long introduction. He tells her to serve him, which makes her upset, and he starts making her suffer as they spend time together. The royal family arranges their engagement, and her father explains that he can't do anything about it, so she realizes that she needs to put up with Kyle. When Scarlett turns 15, she starts attending the Royal Academy for Nobles, and the other students think she's amazing since she's the top student. But Kyle calls her his slave, since her father ordered her to support him, and we learn that she's now used to the way he treats her. During their lunch break, Scarlett's friends invite her to spend time with them, but Kyle scolds her since she didn't buy food for him, and he decides to punish her. Her friends try to stop him, which makes him angry, and he orders his companions to watch them, since they might report to the teacher. He scolds her since she appears to be full of herself, and he wonders why she's in the special curriculum, while he was dropped to the common. She realizes that he's in a bad mood since he's insecure, and he thinks she's looking down on him, so he threatens to cut her hair. She notes that her father will nullify their engagement if he does that, but he mentions that her father is the king's dog, so he'll do anything the royal family tells him. She prepares to hit Kyle since she can't stand his insults, but the first Prince Julius interrupts them and notes that Kyle is an idiot, so he deserves to be dropped to the common curriculum. He threatens Julius with his knife, but he completely ignores Kyle, and he apologizes for the way his brother treated Scarlett. He knows that Kyle has been bullying her, but he explains that she deserves to be treated that way, since she doesn't show him respect. He orders his companion Sigurd to get rid of Julius, but he explains that he can't do it, since Julius is a member of the royal family. So Kyle tells Scarlett it isn't over, and runs away with Sigurd, but she knows that he'll be back tomorrow. She thanks Julius for helping her, and asks him what he was doing in a tree, so he explains that he was reading, telling her he doesn't do it in the classroom since the other students keep bothering him. We learn that the kingdom has two princes, and Julius is the current heir to the throne, but a faction of wicked nobles doesn't like him, since he doesn't tolerate bad behavior. So they're trying to raise Kyle to take over the throne, which explains why they're always clashing with the faction that's loyal to Julius. Scarlett doesn't want to get involved in the situation, but Julius tells her he finds her interesting, and she isn't happy hearing this. The next day, everyone checks the result of the aptitude test, but they're shocked to learn that Julius is in the top spot, since Scarlett is always in first place. Julius approaches her, and she congratulates him for taking the number 1 spot, but he notes that beating her is easier than he expected, which makes her angry. She takes it as a challenge and starts studying, since she wants to make him pay, and she manages to beat him in the next exam. So he congratulates her for retaking the top spot, but notes that he was observing her while she was studying after class. Her friends think he held back during the exam to make her happy, revealing that it's the rumor going around the school, and she realizes that she needs to be careful of him. After that, Scarlett keeps running into Julius, who tries to get her attention, but she always ignores him. But one day, she asks him why she always runs into him, so he tells her it's just a coincidence, but she knows that he's lying. He notes that he enjoys seeing her expressions, and mentions that he can tell how she's feeling just by looking at her face, so he knows that she wants him to stop bothering her. He asks her about Kyle, so she reveals that she hasn't seen him lately, and she thinks Julius is following her since he wants to protect her from Kyle. He notes that he can tell how she's feeling again, and mentions that her hair is beautiful, so he doesn't want her to lose it. But he tells her she's the most interesting animal he has ever seen, which makes her upset, and he reveals that he's been writing down his observations. He asks her if she wants to be engaged to him instead, and promises to treat her well, but she mentions that she doesn't want to be with him. We return to the present, as Scarlet punches Tanessa away, so Kyle becomes afraid of her. She mentions that she hates the wicked nobles, since they supported him when he called off their engagement, so she puts on her gloves and prepares to beat them up. They order the guards to stop her, but she uses her time magic to make them fall asleep, and starts attacking the nobles. One of them promises to give his slaves to the person who can stop her, and the other nobles remind him that slave trading is illegal, but they think everything will be fine since they're on Kyle's side. Scarlet realizes that they all have slaves, so she thinks they're all pigs who deserve a beating, and she uses magic to increase her speed, before charging at the nobles. As she knocks them down, one of them recognizes her as the Mad Dog noblewoman, who's notorious for beating people up, and she manages to defeat all of them. She mentions that Kyle is next, so he freaks out, and Leonardo tries to stop her, but she sends Kyle crashing into the wall, and notes that she feels better now. Julius laughs as he realizes what just happened, and he wonders why she beat them up, so she explains that they deserved it since they're evil. But he tells her to keep her explanation short, so she mentions that they pissed her off, and he's glad that she has finally shown her true colors. Leonardo thinks their family's reputation will suffer because of her, but Julius tells him not to worry, since she won't be charged for taking down the nobles. But she suddenly starts to feel strange, and she collapses as she reaches her limit. She realizes that she overused the power of Cronoa, who's known as the god of time, and when she wakes up, she sees that a maid named Nanka was about to stab her, so she punches her away. Leonardo hears the commotion and rushes to her room, and he realizes that she has regained consciousness, telling her she's been out for 3 days. She apologizes for being reckless, and he tells her to stop beating people up, but she notes that she can't do that, and Julius realizes that she's finally awake. So he invites her to have a cup of tea, and tells her she's no longer engaged to Kyle, who has been disinherited because of the trouble he caused. She wonders if she'll be punished for beating up the nobles, so Julius tells her she's safe, since the royal family considers her important. He mentions that she won't get married anytime soon, but she gains something priceless in exchange, and he reveals that everyone heard about what she did. So they consider her a hero for taking down the evil nobles, and they've started calling her the Bloodstained Lady, but Leonardo thinks it sounds terrible. Julius notes that they need to replace important men in the national government since they've been exposed as evil nobles, and he reveals that the Prime Minister Godwin is the organizer of Kyle's faction. So they need to find a way to deal with him, and Julius mentions that the king formed an organization to investigate Kyle's faction, revealing that Leonardo has been assigned as its leader. Sigurd joins them, while Julius reveals that he's the agent who infiltrated Kyle's faction and exposed the Prime Minister's involvement. Scarlet remembers him as Kyle's companion, so he begs for forgiveness, but Julius tells her she can punish him. So she pretends to punch him, but she just lightly hits his face, telling him everything's behind them now. After that, Scarlet thinks Godwin must have sent Nanka, so she decides to visit her in a cabin, but she sees her clothes on the ground. A cat lunges at Scarlet, so she knocks it down, and she knows that it's Nanka, so she mentions that her behavior is unacceptable. Nanka returns to her human form, and Scarlet realizes that she's actually a boy, but she realizes that he has a slave crest, which means he's being controlled by his master. She offers to free him if he tells her who sent him, and he accepts the deal, so she knocks him down and uses reverse time magic on his body, causing the crest to disappear. We learn that everyone in this world is favored by one of the gods, and most people don't realize it, but those who become aware of it receive the god's blessing, which allows them to use its power. Nanka can't believe the slave crest is gone, and Scarlet explains that she used the blessing of Cronoa to restore his body to how it was before he received the crest. But she knows that it burns through her energy quickly, which explains why she passed out after she used it against the evil nobles. She tells Nanka to keep her blessing a secret and reminds him about their deal, so he reveals that he was hired by Godwin. He explains that Godwin wanted to punish her for hitting his son, who turns out to be one of the evil nobles, and Nanka reveals that he was originally sent there as a spy. He notes that Godwin sent spies to every noble house so that he could exploit their weaknesses, and we learn that it's how he gets people to support him. Scarlet decides to beat him up, but Nanka tells her to wait for the slave auction next week, since Godwin will surely attend it. Nanka doesn't know where it will be held, but he can help her contact a slave trader, and he asks her to let him join her, so she tells him they're going to the capital. 3 days later, we see Nanka and Scarlet in the slums, where Scarlet buys a mithril ore from a kid for 1 gold, but Nanka thinks she got scammed since it's just a rock. She asks Julius what he's doing there, so he explains that he wants to help them, revealing that he can't leave the palace after he graduates, so he wants to see what the kingdom is like while he's still free. But she asks for the real reason, so he notes that he wants to see her in action, and admits that he overheard their conversation in the cabin. A group of thugs appears, and Nanka tells them they're looking for a middleman named Junk, but they refuse to share information about him. They reveal that they beat up the kid who sold the rock and took his money, and Scarlet realizes that they're evil, so she crushes the rock and throws it at the thugs. She decides to teach them a lesson, so she uses her magic to strengthen her body, and activates her blessing to increase her speed. She starts taking them out, and one of them recognizes her as the Lady of Beatings, which Julius finds amusing. She punches the man who's afraid of her and disarms the last thug, so he begs her to let him go. But she thinks he doesn't deserve mercy since he made the kid suffer, so she prepares to hit him, but he tells her where she can find Junk. So she thanks him for the information, but she still knocks him out, and Julius mentions that he'll talk to Junk alone since he might recognize Nanka. After Julius talks to Junk, he mentions that he now has the name and location of the slave merchant, and Scarlet wonders if he made Junk suffer, but he explains that he just used scare tactics. She's impressed by the way he handled it, telling him he has talent as a conman, since he lacks empathy for others. But she notes that they should proceed to the next step, and he wonders how they will infiltrate the slave auction, so Nanka mentions that he has a plan. Scarlet visits the slave trader Theron, who seems to be interested in Nanka, since he recognizes him as a beastkin. She knows that he's evil, so she wants to beat him up, but Nanka stops her, and she asks Theron about the slave auction, but he tells her she isn't qualified to attend it. She promises to pay him if he helps her, so he notes that he doesn't need money, but he agrees to take her to the auction as his relative if she gives Nanka to him, and she immediately accepts his offer. After that, Scarlet notes that everything went according to Nanka's plan, but she asks him if he's sure about his decision, since she can't guarantee his safety. He thinks Theron will put him up for auction, so he probably won't let anyone harm him until then, and Nanka is sleepy since beastkin are nocturnal. He goes to sleep, so Scarlet takes him to the inn, where she tells Julius that the meeting went well, and he's surprised that she was able to resolve it without punching. She leaves after she helps Nanka go to bed, but Julius follows her to the market, telling her he has business down the street. They see a merchant who sells apple pie, and he offers to give them a free apple for every slice, so Julius buys 2 of them. He buys other items in the market, and Scarlet asks him about his business down the street, so he reveals that he just made it up, and mocks her for believing him. She smashes the wall to blow off steam, and prepares to return to the inn, but he makes her eat an apple pie, and she's amazed by how delicious it is. He apologizes for making her angry, and tells her she can have his apple pie, so she decides to forgive him. She wonders why he's familiar with the city, so he reveals that he used to escape from the academy to look around, and asks her what she thinks of the market. So she notes that it's a lively place, and he's glad that she enjoyed her time there, telling her he always wanted to make her taste the apple pie. He notes that he hates feeling bored, and reveals that he didn't like being surrounded by people when he was a child, since he knew that they just wanted to use him to get close to the royal family. Scarlet caught his eye during the ball, but Kyle didn't treat her well, so Julius told her to report him to the king, thinking she must be afraid of him, but she explained that it wasn't the case. Julius mentions that he finds a lot of things boring, so he wants to surround himself with things that interest him, and he tells her she's the most interesting person he's ever met. He kisses her on the cheek, and explains that he doesn't love her, but notes that she's more precious than anything in this world. After they return to the inn, Scarlet thinks about what happened, and thinks Julius was just teasing her. The next day, Scarlet prepares to give Nanka to Theron, who notes that he wants to see Nanka transform, to confirm that he really is a beastkin. So she tells him to transform, and Theron thinks he's amazing, thinking he'll be the crown jewel of the auction. But a slave trainer named Donovan appears, and he puts a collar around Nanka, who tries to resist him. So Donovan prepares to use his whip, but Scarlet stops him, and tells Theron that his slave needs to be disciplined. He warns her not to provoke Donovan, since he used to be an A-rank adventurer, but she doesn't care, and he mentions that he won't let it slide just because she's a customer. He starts pulling with all his might, but he still can't move his whip, and Scarlet realizes that he won't be put up for auction, so she punches him away. He flies through the window, and Theron is shocked by her power, but she realizes that Nanka is injured, so she uses her magic to heal him. She tells him she'll be back for him soon, and offers to pay for the broken window, but Theron tells her it's okay, and promises to help her attend the auction. After that, Scarlet sees a carriage waiting at the inn, and Leonardo mentions that he's finally found her, telling her to explain everything when they get back to the palace. He's angry that Scarlet and Julius acted recklessly, and Julius notes that they learned the location of the slave auction, but Leonardo tells him not to put himself at risk, since he's the heir to the throne. Leonardo reveals that Godwin is the organizer of the auction, and Scarlet notes that it will be held 2 nights from now, so he realizes that they need to act fast. He tells her to stay home while they deal with the auction, but she explains that she can't do that, since she enjoys beating up wicked nobles. She notes that she can get away with it since she's the daughter of a duke, and Julius agrees with her, but Leonardo thinks she'll ruin their family's reputation. He notes that the upper nobility aren't the only ones involved, since there's a chance that they're connected to the Vanquish Empire, which had border disputes with their kingdom for hundreds of years. We see Godwin talking to a mysterious man, and he shows him a picture of Scarlet, telling him to get rid of her since she ruined Kyle's ball. After that, a girl shows him a pistol, and reveals that she got it from the goddess Palmia, so he mentions that she also gave him a magic pendant. But he wonders what the pistol can do, so the girl uses it to shoot a vase, and we see Tanessa as she tells him they can use it to get rid of their enemies. Theron takes Scarlet to the auction, and we see Leonardo waiting outside with the knights, telling them to enter when Julius gives the signal, but he's worried that Scarlet might beat everyone up. Scarlet blends in with the evil nobles, who are excited for the auction, and the lights go out as the event begins. The host introduces the first item, which is a one-winged avian, and a noble buys her for 100 gold. Julius talks to Scarlet, who wonders what he's doing there, since he's supposed to be the mission commander, so he explains that he just came to check on her. He notes that the knights are ready to raid the auction, and they might take Godwin away from her, so she proposes a trade, telling him to let the knights wait longer, since she wants to destroy Godwin. He wonders what she'll give him in exchange, so she notes that she'll swear loyalty to the crown for the rest of her life, but he wants her to swear loyalty to him instead, and she accepts his condition. She thinks Godwin is watching the auction upstairs, and they decide to go there while the nobles are busy, so that she can give Godwin the beating he deserves. We see a slave crying as her mother is taken away, but Nanka tells her to stop struggling, and he assures her that everything will be okay, since he knows that Scarlet has made her move. Scarlet puts a group of soldiers to sleep, and Julius knows that she didn't beat them up since they're innocent, so he mentions that her control is excellent. They see several men blocking their path, and she prepares to fight them, thinking they'll make excellent appetizers before the main dish. She easily takes them out, and one of them crashes into Godwin's room, as she mentions that she has finally met her punching bag. His son Hein summons lightning to strike her down, but Julius uses his ring to cancel the spell, and Godwin is shocked to see him there. The nobles freak out, since they know they're doomed if the royal family finds out about the auction, but they convince themselves that he's just an imposter. Donovan arrives in his beast form, and he prepares to attack Scarlet, but Sigurd protects her, so Godwin orders his men to take him down. He tells Scarlet to escape with Julius, but she notes that she wants to destroy the nobles herself, telling him to fight Donovan while she beats them up. She smiles as she spins one of them around, but it creates a whirlwind that blows away the other nobles, and the auction stops as they crash into the hall. After that, Leonardo comes in to check what's happening, and he realizes that Scarlet has defeated the nobles. But he sees Sigurd fighting Donovan, and notes that the patrons are escaping, so Julius thinks they should call the knights. but Scarlet wants him to wait until she's done with Godwin, and Julius tells Leonardo that he has exchanged vows with her, so he needs to honor his word. Leonardo is shocked hearing this, and he thinks they're now engaged to each other, so he agrees to help them find Godwin. Julius gives the signal to the knights, while Leonardo uses his clairvoyance skill to search the area, and he realizes that Godwin is on his way to the roof. But he's shocked to see a dragon approaching, and Julius thinks it's proof that he's working with the Vanquish Empire, saying they'll never catch him if he escapes the kingdom. They reach the basement, but they think they'll never make it to the roof in time, so Scarlet removes her shoes, and uses her blessing to triple her speed. She rushes to the roof, and sees Godwin and Hein approaching the dragon, telling the rider to get down and meet them since he's just a commoner. But he becomes upset hearing this, and his dragon Rex prepares to attack them with its tail. Scarlet suddenly arrives, and easily stops the attack, but Godwin realizes that she just landed on Hein. The rider recognizes her, and he's impressed that she was able to stop Rex's tail, telling her he has fallen in love with her. He tells her to marry him, but she turns him down and sends him flying, so Rex tries to attack her, but she slams it to the ground. The rider is impressed by her strength, but notes that he has fallen in love with her even more, so she punches him and kicks him away. But he still gets back up, so she realizes that he's persistent, and she asks him if he's there to eliminate Godwin. She recognizes him as the first prince of the Vanquish Empire named Alflame, and he admits that she's right, since he went there to kill Godwin. He reminds Alflame about his promise to make him a minister of the Empire, but he notes that Godwin has already betrayed the kingdom, so he can't be trusted. Alflame throws his spear at Godwin, but Scarlet destroys it, telling him Godwin is her prey. Alflame grabs her leg and asks her to accept his love, and she notes that he appears to be confident in his endurance. So he explains that his body is immune to physical attacks, since he received the blessing of the God of Steel. He knows that she also has a blessing, but notes that she can't defeat him with her fists, so she grabs onto his head and smashes it against her knee. She repeatedly hits him, and he tells her he's completely fine, but he loses balance as he has a concussion. She tells him to return to his empire, since she has grown tired of him, and she uses her blessing to throw him away. She tells Godwin he's next, so he begs her to spare him, and apologizes for using Tanessa to break her engagement with Kyle, so she realizes that Tanessa was working with him. But he explains that he just went along with her plan, revealing that she was reincarnated from another world by the power of a goddess. But Scarlet tells him she has no idea what he's talking about, and asks him if she can start punching him. He promises to give her anything she wants if she spares him, but she notes that she wants to turn him into her punching bag, and uses her blessing to move 100 times faster. She repeatedly hits him, as she thinks about the people who suffered because of him, and after she deactivates her blessing, he screams as he feels the full force of her blows. He crashes into the wall, but a part of her hair suddenly turns black, as she realizes that she overused her blessing. She's about to collapse, but Julius catches her and helps her recover, while the others arrive, asking her if she's okay. She's glad that they were able to save Nanka, but Godwin suddenly gets back up, and uses his pistol to shoot her. But Julius takes the bullet for her, and he loses consciousness, so Scarlet becomes angry and rushes at Godwin. She knocks him down, but he notes that her punches won't work on him, and she realizes it's because of his magic pendant, so she removes it and smashes his head. She thinks he killed Julius, so she tells him to apologize to Julius in the afterlife, before kicking him away. But Julius tells her he's still alive, and Leonardo tells him to stop moving, since he barely survived thanks to his healing magic. After that, everyone makes it back alive, and the slaves are happy that they've been rescued, while the wicked nobles are taken into custody. We see that Godwin survived the incident, and Nanka is surprised that he's still alive, but Scarlet is glad that she was able to beat him up. Meanwhile, we see Alflame stuck in a tree, but his companion saves him, but he notes that the man almost broke his bones. He knows that Alflame is immune to physical attacks, but he explains that he already used up his blessing, since he crashed into the tree after he was thrown away from the kingdom. They ride a dragon and fly away, but Alflame notes that he enjoyed meeting Scarlet, saying he wants to see her again. Everyone hears the news about Godwin's arrest, and they know that Scarlet kicked him off the roof, so they think she's amazing. Her classmates wonder what kind of pet she keeps in her home, and we see that she has tamed Rex, who now obeys her every command. A man named Cervantes tells her they made a Godwin punching bag, but he isn't sure if people will buy it in the market. He notes that Nanka appears to be jealous, so she tells him to come to her, but the mates tell him he needs to be ready to meet their guests. We see Tanessa heading to the dungeon, where the guards tell her she isn't allowed to visit prisoners, but she charms them with her magic, so they allow her to enter. She sees Godwin in his cell, and he thinks she's there to free him, but she thanks him for making Pommianism the state religion, and uses her spell on him. She gives him poison, and tells him she no longer needs him, revealing that she plans to ruin Scarlet's life. After that, everyone learns that Godwin poisoned himself, but Leonardo finds it suspicious, and he thinks Tanessa has something to do with it. So Julius starts looking into her, and he sees a paper that mentions Pommianism, which is a religion that worships the goddess of beauty and love, but we learn that it's led by a wicked merchant. Sigurd notes that there's another major religion in the kingdom known as Dianism, which worships Saint Diana, but it isn't a state religion since there are people who don't accept it. Sigurd realizes that the Dianism ceremony will be held soon, and Julius tells Leonardo to take care of it, but he knows that it will be difficult. Julius mentions that he finds Scarlet interesting, so he wants her to stay by his side, and Leonardo is happy to hear this, telling the others that Julius has exchanged vows with her. Several days later, we see Scarlet's friends Rosalia and Envy, as Cervantes greets them, but they see Rex in the sky. So they attack it with their spells, but they realize that Scarlet is riding it. After that, Rosalia and Envy explain that they thought Rex was their enemy, since the Vanquish Empire uses dragons as mounts. But Scarlet is just glad to meet them again, and she asks them how they are doing, so Envy notes that she now has absolute power over the Academy dorm. But Rosalia knows that she was bored without Scarlet, so she admits that she wants her to return to their dorm. Envy mentions that she wants to marry a good man after she graduates, and Scarlet knows that she has a lot of suitors, but she explains that she's looking for someone who would risk his life for her. Her friends ask her if she's interested in marriage, but Julius suddenly joins them, and they're surprised to see him there. He mentions that he wants to talk to Scarlet in private, and her friends become flustered hearing this, telling him he can borrow her for as long as he likes. He takes her to the garden, where he notes that he's been looking into Tanessa, but Kyle knew nothing about her. Julius notes that he has no other leads, but he realizes that Scarlet's hair still hasn't returned to normal, so she tells him she'll visit the hot springs to recover soon. He tells her she's important to the kingdom, but she reminds him that he's also important, so he shouldn't risk his life to save her again. He takes the roses in the garden and makes a crown, which he puts around her head, and he tells her he wants her by his side, since he enjoys every moment he spends with her. He notes that she has stolen his heart, and reveals that he loves her, but only as a toy, so she becomes angry and asks him if she can hit him. That evening, Scarlet receives a letter from Diana, who mentions that she's looking forward to meeting her at the cathedral, and Scarlet notes that she'll do anything to protect her. The next day, Scarlet tells Leonardo that she wants to go on a hot springs tour, but he thinks she just wants to go to the pilgrimage to punch Diana. So she explains that she would never do that, since everyone in the kingdom loves Diana, and he allows her to go on her tour. She prepares to leave, but she sees Julius waiting for her at the carriage, and she isn't happy to see him. She wonders why Leonardo doesn't know that she's joining him for the pilgrimage, so he explains that they need to keep it a secret, since he thinks there are people spying on them. They reach the religious quarter, where the pilgrimage will begin, and she knows that it's the headquarters for both Pommianism and Dianism. But Julius thinks it's well protected, since the Pommian Pope Sargon is trying to hide his corruption. We learn that the people who knew him as a merchant called him the scheming social climber, and she thinks he must be evil, so she's excited to beat him up. But the carriage suddenly stops, as the driver notes that the gate just closed on them, and a guard mentions that Sargon gave them an order not to let anyone pass, unless they have the king's approval. Julius thinks he's trying to prevent the pilgrimage, so he tries to talk to the guard, explaining that the king is having a conference with the other realms. He thinks Sargon is being petty, but the Inquisitor Jarmov interrupts him, telling him he'll get rid of anyone who threatens Pommianism. Scarlet sees Julius holding onto an artifact, as he asks Jarmov if Sargon approved his organization, so he explains that the Inquisitors are the Pope's most trusted retainers. He takes out his weapon, and notes that it's the sacred hammer Palmia gave him, saying he'll use it to punish heretics. But we learn that the artifact was used to record the conversation, and Scarlet approaches the gate, so Jarmov tells her that nothing in this world can destroy it. But she uses her blessing to shatter it, and the guards can't believe it, realizing she's the Lady of Beatings, so they run for their lives. Jarmov prepares to attack her, so she borrows a guard's spear and uses it to stop his weapon before launching it back towards him. But she realizes that he isn't injured, and he reveals that his pendant has healing powers, so she takes him out with a devastating blow, which launches him to the sky. The Holy Order of Diana arrives, and she recognizes their leader Powerless, who apologizes for being late since they had to deal with riots caused by the worshippers of Palmia. A knight suddenly joins them, and he's amazed by Scarlet's beauty, but Julius tells him to stay away from her. Powerless punishes him for being rude, so he introduces himself as Dios, revealing that he's the head knight of the Holy Order. But he takes Scarlet's hand, asking her to be his girlfriend, and the knights are shocked by his behavior. He reveals that he's the son of elvish royalty, and she prepares to hit him to teach him a lesson, but Julius takes her hand and tells him to leave her alone. Dios realizes that the knights are angry, and they tell him to respect royalty before taking him away. Powerless apologizes for his behavior and notes that he's a weirdo, but he's an extremely talented fighter. They reach the cathedral, where they meet Diana, and Julius tells her they need to discuss the pilgrimage in private. So they head to the conference room, where Diana is overjoyed to see Scarlet and calls her big sister. Julius tells Diana to greet him, but she demands that he let her go, and he thinks she doesn't act like a saint. Scarlet mentions that they should begin their discussion, and notes that the pilgrimage is a tradition that began 300 years ago, when the kingdom was being attacked by the Demon King's forces. The monsters were about to take over the kingdom, but a girl with the power of exorcism named Diana wiped them out and created a barrier with her holy gems. It kept the monsters away from the kingdom, but it lost effectiveness after she passed away, so the people became worried. But a girl purified the holy gems and restored the barrier, and we learn that her name is also Diana. The king built a cathedral to honor the two Dianas who protected the kingdom, and girls with the power of exorcism kept appearing to restore the barrier whenever it was about to break. The current Diana serves as the generation's symbol of faith, but Julius thinks she isn't fit for the role, and notes that they need to take the pilgrimage seriously, saying they need to head out in a few days. He mentions that the believers need to see that Diana is alive and well, so she must act like a saint, even though she's already lost her powers. She mentions that they should end the meeting, and she knows that Scarlet will be sleeping over, so she looks forward to spending the night with her. Scarlet tells Julius to be nicer to her since she has issues, so he promises to be more careful next time, and Scarlet notes that he's good at a lot of things, but he doesn't understand a woman's heart. That evening, Scarlet tells Diana about how she beat up the evil nobles, and Diana mentions that she wants to be just like her, but she reveals that she hates Julius since he keeps teasing her. Her servant tells her it's time to go to sleep, so Scarlet prepares to leave, but Diana stops her, and she reveals that she doesn't like her name, since she was just named after the saint. She notes that when her father learned about it, he started calling her Sonia, and she mentions that she likes the name better, so Scarlet starts calling her by that name. After she leaves the room, she recalls that Diana didn't know what to do after she lost her powers, and Scarlet thinks the gods are cruel, but she hopes that the ceremony will go smoothly. The pilgrimage begins, and the people start cheering for Diana, who manages to do her part well. But the ground suddenly starts shaking, so everyone panics, thinking they're under attack. Scarlet hears noise coming from the Palmian Cathedral, so she rushes to get there, and she sees Palmia's statue holding onto a spear, thinking it will make a fine weapon. So she destroys the statue to take it, and notes that it's about to become a bloody festival. She finds the spot where the terrorists are hiding, and she uses her blessing to throw the spear, which destroys the cathedral and causes an explosion. The terrorists realize that the spear ignited their gunpowder, and Scarlet reveals that she was the one who threw it, but she wonders why the explosion didn't harm them. They recognize her as the silver-haired devil, but they're confident that they can take her on, since they have an inquisitor named Katarl on their side. He mentions that he won't tolerate her behavior, but he's shocked to see her carrying the head of Palmia's statue, which makes him realize that she destroyed it. So he's determined to make her pay, and prepares to punish her with his spell, but she suddenly hits him with the statue's head. She removes his pendant, as he tells her about their mission to stop the festival, revealing that they worked countless nights to carry out their plan. But she thanks him for his confession and knocks him out, and the terrorists think their faith is being tested, so they're determined to take her down. They start ganging up on her, but she punches one of them away, and she mentions that she'll make them suffer for their stupidity. The guards arrive at the cathedral, but she tells them she has already taken down the terrorists, and notes that she'll leave the rest to them. She sees healers treating injured civilians, and she knows that they work for the royal family, so she thinks they were sent by Julius. Diana calls out to her, but her ride suddenly breaks, and she's about to fall off, so everyone becomes worried. But Leonardo saves her, and asks her if she's okay, but she instantly falls in love with him. After that, Sigurd reports that the pilgrimage was able to leave the town safely, and he thinks the Pomians won't be able to do anything once the pilgrims are out of the capital. But Julius disagrees, since he thinks someone in the pilgrimage is working with the Pomians, and he orders Sigurd to infiltrate them to learn what they're after. We see the knights guarding Diana's carriage, and Leonardo wonders why Scarlet decided to join the pilgrimage. So she reveals that she decided to cancel her hot springs tour, since she witnessed how evil the Pomians are. But he doesn't believe her, and he notes that when the Pomian disciples were captured, they told him they were afraid of her since she beat them up. He wonders if she was involved in the incident, so she explains that she was called to assist in the pilgrimage, and he thinks Julius needs her help because of her blessing. But he knows that she can't do everything alone, so he tells her to ask for his help before she puts herself at risk. That evening, everyone sets up camp, and two girls tell Scarlet that Diana is behaving strangely. Scarlet thinks she was traumatized by the incident, but the girls believe there's another reason, so Scarlet visits her in her tent. But she suddenly screams and rolls in her bed, so Scarlet tells her to calm down, but she explains that she can't, since she remembers Leonardo when she looks at Scarlet. She realizes that Diana is in love with him, and tells her she has excellent taste, since he's the most wonderful man in the world. She mentions that she wants to get to know him better, but she doesn't know what to do, since she's never felt that way before, so Scarlet tells her she has a plan. A week later, they arrive in a city on the eastern border, where they enjoy the hot springs. Scarlet tells Diana it's time to review their plan, and she's nervous since she needs to invite Leonardo on a date, but Scarlet promises to take care of everything for her. She fixes her hair, and dresses her up as a commoner, thinking Leonardo will be attracted to her after he sees a new side of her. Diana promises to do her best, and Scarlet praises her resolve, but she opens the door, and orders Nanka to guard Diana. He wonders how Scarlet found out he was outside, so she explains that she knows how Leonardo ordered him to watch over her, and she tells him he's doing a great job. She and Diana start petting him, and she offers to give him a hot bath, but he notes that he doesn't like hot water, and tells Diana she needs to make her move, since Leonardo is about to go to bed. So she invites him to tour the city with her, and he recalls how Scarlet told him to join her, since she wants to let loose like an ordinary girl. So he decides to go with her, and we see Scarlet watching them, as she thinks about exploring the city's nightlife. She walks around the city, but Julius suddenly joins her, and she wonders what he's doing there, so he tells her he just wants to spend time with her. She explains that she isn't there to have fun, and notes that her purpose is to monitor the local adventurers, but he wonders why she's interested in them. So she reminds him about Donovan, who used to be an adventurer, and Julius realizes that she's looking for bad people to beat up. He thinks that not all adventurers are like Donovan, but they suddenly see a group of men ruining a merchant's shop, since they're angry that they lost a bet. Scarlet knows that they're adventurers, and Julius thinks they deserve a beating, so he buys all of the merchant's goods, telling him to let her do what she wants with the adventurers in exchange. He accepts the deal, so she starts attacking them, and they tell her not to mess with them, since they're from a famous party. But she doesn't care, and tells them they aren't the perfect target, but she still wants to beat them up. Leonardo suddenly gets a bad feeling, while Diana heads to a stall, where she needs to catch goldfish to win a prize. The shopkeeper tells her to give it a try, but she can't win the game, so Leonardo teaches her the proper technique, and she manages to catch a goldfish. The shopkeeper tells her she can keep it, but she doesn't want to take it with her, since she thinks it will feel lonely without its friends. She enjoys the night with Leonardo, and sees a merchant selling cat ears, who offers to give her a discount if she buys 2 of them. Leonardo doesn't want to wear them, but she accepts the merchant's offer, and she's happy since they have matching accessories. She's about to bump into drunkards, so he pulls her towards him, and tells her to stay close to him, since she might get into trouble if she runs into a drunk person. She feels like he's babysitting her, so she asks him if she looks like a child to him, and he notes that she reminds him of Scarlet when she was younger. But Diana thinks it's impossible, since she's nothing compared to Scarlet, telling him she's just a clumsy tomboy who needs other people to protect her. but he tells her she has done an excellent job at fulfilling her role despite her age, and notes that she's valuable to the kingdom. She prepares to tell him how she feels, but they suddenly hear a commotion, and they notice people talking about a silver-haired girl, so he realizes that Scarlet got into trouble again. A knight tells him what happened, so he tells the knight to take Diana back to the inn, and runs to look for Scarlet. Meanwhile, Dios and the other knights run into a merchant, who gives them free food, and he wants to eat them, but Paragus reminds him that they're still on duty. Dios mentions that he'll check the other stalls, but he wanders off, and we see him holding a piece of paper. At the Vanquish Empire, we see Alflame training with the soldiers, when a man interrupts him, telling him a creep just showed up. An inquisitor named Mikkel introduces himself, revealing that he's a strategist, and he tells Alflame that the worshippers of Palmia need his help. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.